Good morning, everybody, and welcome to ESO Daily. I'm your host, Mr. Craven. All right, so on yesterday's episode, we got to talk with a couple of viewers, and a couple of people wanted me to kind of go over things with the Warden. So I'm going to start off with the Warden tank today. Hopefully, we can, if we have enough time, we can go into the Warden healer as well, giving up, different gear options, different ways to approach your build with the Warden tank first, and then with the Warden healer. So Wardens we've had only for a few months now, so a lot of players are still kind of trying to find their bearings with Warden, especially when it comes to gear options and the little details. So, and there's a lot of options. The Warden is very flexible. So in today's video, we'll go over a lot of drop sets, optional crafted sets, so on and so forth. But the first thing I want to go ahead and do is go over the race, right? Because there's a lot of options for Wardens tanks when it consider races. I don't care what alliance I am per se, because I'm on PTS. But we will go ahead and we'll raise this up. Now I'm going to go into, I'm going to male, I'm never going to be female. And really good races here. Nord is a great race for, morning Lewis. Nord is a great race for any tank, as well as Orc, if I can find it right there. Orc's really good, Nord's really good, and Argonian. The major reason these three are really good for tanks is their healing received or high health, so on and so forth. They're really flexible when it comes to helping with mitigation depending on your role. Morning Trinity. So that's one of the best thing about these three specific races when you're taking a look at any tank. And with Warden tank though, a lot of our abilities, a lot of tanks will try to say, should I go stamina? Should I go magicka? I always kind of go with three. I always go with triple, because even if I'm going with stamina for block and for taunts, I need magicka for utility purposes and mitigation most of the time. So magicka pool is just as important. One of the major things that also the Warden has is using Ice Staff, because the Warden gets a boost to cold damage. That kind of goes in hand with the Warden's tanking style, dealing a lot of frost damage, mitigation, adding the minor maim along with the frost so we can free up some bar space. So get a lot of options. Morning useless. So, there's just so many. Is there any one specific race that any of you guys would like me to choose for the Warden? Now, keep in mind, you can use other races. So, if I want to go Imperial, I could. Unfortunately, right now, it doesn't seem to be unlocked on PTS. I think I do have Imperial unlocked, though, on my main server. But, so is there anything you guys want to see specifically? I prefer one of these three. Usually Argonian, though it doesn't have a lot of the max resources. I like Orc for stamina, and Nord just is really good too. 1 second here. I'm hoping this is just a telemarketer this morning. It is. Telemarketers, gotta love them. Afternoon, you pug pimp. I have been in work waiting all day for this video. Oh, okay. Thank you, David. Is there any specific Nord? Okay, Nord. You want me to go with the Nord? That's fine. We'll go with the Nord. And let's go. We'll just name him something, whatever. I don't really care about his looks or whatever on that. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Now, if I crash, I'm hoping to not. Morning, Robert. I'm hoping I don't crash. I was on this for hours yesterday, and it finally, I crashed one time. And I think I was playing for 6 hours trying to get stuff done. So it's 6 hours it took me to crash. So I hope that doesn't happen today. Either that, if that happens again, I will be creating a friggin' Twitch, and I'll be doing a fundraiser for a new barebone system. Let's hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope, let's hope, let's hope. Good morning, Mustang. Now we'll go over all the specs and points and everything like that. For me personally, I always like to go high health because of the mitigating effects. That's very important as a tank. The more health you have, usually everything will scale accordingly. We'll put this up here. I'll keep that over there for now. That's fine. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh no! I don't have my controller set up for some odd, god-awful reason. Should be working. Settings. Let's see. Combat, gamepad. It's on. It says it's on. But why isn't it working? Oh, there it is. There we go. Naked Nord. I'm the Naked Nord. Naked. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, keep in mind, guys, like I said, one of the major things that we're always going to take a look at is health. Health is a mitigating effect for us, for most tanks except sorcerer tanks. This makes no exception to the rule. I usually go between 25 to 30. And then I use a lot of magicka. So what I end up doing is I usually scale this a little bit higher. About 24, and I can put 10 in the stamina. A lot of people are like, well, why so little in the stamina? Well, I can glyph the difference. So that usually looks good about for me. And for some reason, I'm not a Warden. So let's back out here. I'm going to kill myself. Let's redo this. I'm a sorcerer. I'm a Nord sorcerer. That'd be great for a Sorc tank. Okay, let's try to create another one here, shall we? Okay, once again, we're going to go with the Nord. Let's pick the race this time. Let's go with the Warden. We'll go with Ward Mystic. Alright. Same kind of idea, though. I always want a high amount of health, guys. Lots of health for mitigation. Now, one of the major things that you have to decide for yourself, right? How much can you manage resources? Now, keep in mind, tanks get 25% recovery for a heavy attack. For a heavy sword attack, it's a lot faster than your heavy... is this really happening? Oh my god, I forgot to level it up! Sometimes I swear to God I hate these things. I'm clunky today. So here's my story. So normally I'm on around 8:15, right? As you guys are paying attention, I'm actually running a little late today because my kid's school now has this new program. Oh shit. I crashed. I'll be back. Technical difficulties. I'm still on, I think, recording. Yes, I am. Oh my god. I'm telling you. I'm all whatever today. Alright. So anyways, my kid's school has this new program where once a month, on a Wednesday, they get an hour delay to sleep in. Don't ask me why. I have that Warden tank build I mentioned to you yesterday. I can send it via email if you'd like for reference. If you can link it, Lewis, that'd be awesome. In here, that would actually be killer. So then I can just pop it up. Okay, let's try again. Clockwork City, male. Warden, yes. Nord. Mystic Tank Ward. Oh my god. Thumbs. So I'm running a little late. I'm a little frantic. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta hurry. I gotta get this stuff. I gotta get on the show. And my kids are like, are you okay, Dad? I'm like, perfect. Perfect. Great. There we go. And I actually made a European character yesterday. I didn't get to do a lot with him. But I actually did get to get him started. Because I'm hoping Zai has this Halloween event. I don't know if he will or not. So let's get back into this. Let's go back into skills. Once again, health's a very important aspect, mitigation. Morning, Todd. I really, like I said, I always push up around about 30 for the base. Somewhere between there. Always put a little bit more into my magicka. We'll go there. And usually that's a good starter for me. And keeping in mind, I'm going to use tri-statted food. All right, so let's get into the skills. One of the major focuses that we're going to be looking at is the Winter's Embrace, right? And the passives are always going to be important, no matter what. Now, Glacier Presence, it's really good, you know, as far as, you know, the CC ability. Because that shield effect does, you know, slow them down. This is the big one, Frozen Armor. Increase your physical and spell resistance. This is the big time one for the tank. Okay, also Icy Aura, reduce the effectiveness of snares applied to you. As being a tank, you don't want to be CC'd a lot. You don't want to be reduced in your movement, especially with any type of dungeon effect. Piercing Cold, this increases the magic and frost damage. Okay, so Sleet Storm. Now, a lot of times I'll kind of call this depending on what I'm doing. In a trial, I won't typically run it. Or I can bar it and not pop it. Lewis, damn, your link is longer than 200 characters for this chat window. Is it? That sucks. You can use Permafrost. Damaging nearby enemies will stun them. That's great for, like, PvP. A lot of the times I'll usually go with the Northern Storm just for the max magicka if I'm needing any sort of effects or something like that. Frost Cloak. This kind of can work with the tank or the healer. You can go with the Expansive Cloak. Reduces the cost and has a larger radius. Or the caster gains minor protection. I always go with the Ice Fortress because I like to have the minor protection. But if you're a healer, you would want the Expansive Frost because it's going to increase the radius. So this is the difference. Usually healer goes expansive. Tank will go with the ice. Okay, the Impaling Shards, once again, great CC. You can go with the Immobilized Enemies or Winter's Revenge summons at target location. I'll only use Winter's Revenge on Magicka builds. So with tanks, I usually go with the Gripping Shards. URL. Okay, you can send me an email. Try to. It's at, shoot. You can try the, I'm trying to think of the one. Gary424 at yahoo.com. Try that one. I just don't want to get flooded with spam. Arctic Wind. This is the big one here, guys. Okay. You can either take the Arctic Blast or Polar Wind. I always go with the Polar Wind. This is why. It heals a nearby ally for 10% of your max health. This scales from max health. It really comes in handy, man. You know, it really does. And it scales health. So why wouldn't I take it? Crystal Shield. It's really great. Absorbing projectiles. Launches an icy bolt back at the enemy. I take the Shimmering Shield. Because I get the major heroism. That's why I like it. Okay. I'll take a look out for it. Frostgate, you can use Frostgate. Frostgate does come in handy in a lot of situations. If you're going to be using Frostgate, though, you can use Frozen Device. Enemy deals reduced damage or Frozen Retreat. Grants allies in the area synergy that moves them to you. Now, in PvE, most of the time, I don't want players coming to me. That's a bad situation. In PvP, that's good. Right? So if they get chained or whatever, you can, you know, if they can get to a gate, they get closer to you, they can kind of like, you know, bait and trap players. So it lays it down. They're kiting players, right? They're saying, okay, come to me, chase me. All of a sudden they cross over a frozen gate, hit it, pop the synergy, goes to you. Another player jumps on it, it automatically leaps them to you. Now they're getting tag team. That's the nice thing about frozen gates. I use the Frozen Device for the reduction. So it is what it is. Now, one-hand sword and board. Once again, you always want to unlock the passives. This is always important in tanking. Send me a message and I'll reply so you don't get spammed by trolls. Yeah, I'll take a look at what I'm got going on here. So if I can get the email, I'll type it in, but I got it on my phone. Okay, I'm checking. Sometimes I gotta check in the trash because my stuff is somewhat protected too. Thought of my emails if they're not recognized. Not yet. Hasn't came over yet. It's interesting. Well, I'll check in on it in a minute here. If you could type in some of the stuff, it'll help out too. Okay. Go ahead, pick up all this stuff, and we'll go over each of the abilities in this. Okay, shield wall is great. So if you wanted to use a shield wall, you can. Spell wall, reflect projectiles, or shield discipline. Your one hand and shield abilities cost to reduce while active. I like this more for PvE. Spell wall for PvP if I'm going to use it. Puncture. I'm always. Okay, you can go with ransack. I don't like ransack. PvP, I'll use ransack. PvP. PvE, it's always going to be pierce armor. Always. Why? Major breach. It's going to be applied. Let's go major fracture and major breach. Always. Always. Low slash is good because whatever. But if I take it, I'll take the deep slash because I don't need it. The heroic because I'm getting the minor heroism in my other ability. If I'm going to use it with the Warden tank. Now other tanks, some like Sork tanks, I might need that. Defensive posture, I usually will go with absorb magic either way. Defensive stance is nice for PvP, but most of the time I always go with absorb magic. Plus keep in mind guys, your block reduction is reduced by 8%. Okay, shield charge, I'll usually use this in Cradle of Shadows. You know, there's some mechanics that you want to, close that gap really quick and interrupt. So this is a good gap closer for a tank. I'm not too late for the great set, I hope. The gear set. No, you're not. So I'm running late, Matt Spider. So you can go with Shield Assault or you can go with Invasion. I usually, for PvP, will go with Invasion. For PvE, I want to go with this so I get that damage shield. Morning Rock, Power Bash. I hardly ever use this. This is good for PvP, especially the reverberating. The Power Slam, you can use two either way, but most of the time I don't use this for PvE. Only PvP. So, you know. But there's some of the main abilities. Once again, now going into heavy armor. Now, I usually will unlock immovable. Why? Because if I use Armor Master. If there's a chance I'm going to use Armor Master, I'm going to use this ability. There's not a lot of times I'll slot it. But sometimes I will be using this and I'll use deslot another ability if I'm using Armor Master. Doesn't always happen, but if you're a person who likes Armor Master, you're going to go ahead and slot this. Now, which one would you take afterwards? Immovable Brute or Unstoppable? Well, that's kind of, good question. Immovable is great for PvP. Why? Because it decreases the cost of the break free. Great. Unstoppable is better for PvE because it increases the duration. So, usually I'll go with the Unstoppable for PvE. Once again, now, if you guys notice, here's the thing that they did. They got rid of the, well, it's on PTS, but there's no more increase to tank damage. So it's revitalized. This is the new one. Increases the magic or stamina your heavy attacks restore. All right, so that's gone. And then increases your healing received with rapid mending. Okay, so the one passive is now gone. So we have the revitalize, which is 25. Now rapid mending is going to increase healing, so it's more tank. Makes sense. It's a tank. It's supposed to be a tank. All right. Now, another one I want to take here, guys, real quick. Because keep in mind, unlike every other tank, I'm a Warden tank, right? So guess what I want? I want a Frost Staff. Why? Why do I want the Frost Staff? Well, it's easy. Because when I go in to Ancient Knowledge, Frost Staff reduces the cost of blocking by 15%. This is more than the Sword and Board, right? When I unlock both of these, I'm getting 30. I'm getting a 30% reduction. For a Warden tank not to want to use a Frost Staff is crazy. You don't have to. You can go any direction. But if you're going to play PvE and you're going to play endgame and you want to reduce the cost, and that's why you want to go more Magicka for the Warden, is because of Frost Staff. Now, you got to keep some stamina if you're on board side, because remember, when you switch to the board, you're not using Magicka cost reduction now. You're using stamina cost reduction. So for a Warden tank, one of the better assets for him, because he's more Magicka driven base, he's applying the minor maim effects with frost damage, is the Frost Staff. So we're going to go with that. We want to unlock this. Now keep in mind though, a lot of times you have to say, do I sacrifice my double stack, or do I sacrifice my monster set? That becomes a good question, and we'll get into all that today. So, most of the time, also as a Warden tank, guess what I can also do? If I want to, and I want to free up bar space for my allies, for especially my healers who could be running other healing effects, and I have enough bar space, well, I can run the Elite Drain. They don't have to do it now. I can do it, right? That benefits the entire party, and I have that advantage over most tanks. Because unlike other tanks, I'm using a Destruction Staff. So that becomes optional for me. Also, another thing I can do too, I can run the Wall of Elements. This makes things a lot easier because it reduces, it's another CC effect applied. That CC applied with the minor maim, this gives a reduction for what my team is doing, on top of adding the other effects like Frost Cloak. This is why Warden tanks are so strong. A lot of people want to say, well, it's not a DK, or it's not this. It's a Warden tank. What Warden tanks bring to a party is completely different. So for trash mobs, it's a lot stronger because of the minor maim, resistance, helping. It's as in Gilliam term, it synergizes better with a party than most tanks will, because of the effects it applies to, the dungeon or, the RNG. So we can go ahead and we can go with this. And usually if I do this, I'll usually go with the Elemental Blockade on tanks. Now DPS, I like the other one. So that's kind of the way to go. And I only take these two. If you want to go ahead also with the ulti, you can. But to me, it's not worth sacrificing Northern Storm as a tank. Okay, so we got pretty much. Now also, keep in mind you want to unlock some of these passives too for your light armor and medium. Especially if you want to get that Undaunted. That's kind of, but you won't need the 5s. You can save points that way. What's the plan for this build? PvE or PvP or PvE? We can kind of go over a little bit of both, but I want to focus on PvE mainly and kind of see where you guys want to go with what gear sets you want to see. I want to make this interactive. So you guys tell me some of the drop sets that you want to see, and kind of we'll put it together. We'll go over it. So I want to take up that cost reduction. And one of the biggest things I also want to take is the Warhorn. Always Warhorn for tank. And then I usually go in support, and I won't always slot guard, but I'll usually unlock it. And I usually go with the Mystic Guard versus this one, because usually I don't have a lot of people up in my area. PvE primarily, yeah, correct. So pretty much this is everything unlocked, but we still need to take a look at gear. Gear is a big thing here, but we will be going into a lot of things. Also, I'll be getting into the Master Sword and Board. Somebody had asked me about that. And with the Warden, it actually is a really good setup, because if we're going to give up a monster set, that's where we're going to get a lot of benefits from the master weapon. So let's go with the sword and board. Okay. So the master shield. Kind of nice here. Why isn't the sword in? They should always put that sword in there. Now I gotta go find it. When you deal damage with puncture, you heal for 2,500 health and gain spell and physical resistance equal to the amount healed for 3 seconds. To me, this is one of the sets. Okay, cool, Lewis. I'll take a look at it here in a minute. This is one of the sets I don't use because of the pen cap. I've never had an interest in it, really, to be honest with you. And if I usually go with a shield, I always go infused so I can go ahead and glyph it accordingly. So let's go back in. Now I got to go look at the master swords. Master one hands. Okay. Right. So, and you usually can go with whatever. So I usually go with, once again, I'll go either infused or decisive. I like decisive better on tanks. The reason being, I'm generating, depending on certain builds, I like it because I gain ultimate faster and I can get a faster Warhorn rotation. But a lot of people want to do infused, and that's fine too because you're getting that reduction. So, and you can apply that to your breach enchantment. So we have that. Now, what's the first couple of sets you guys want to take a look at? You want to take a look at trial sets, dungeon sets? I don't have crafting up. They reset everything. So as far as drop sets, what do you want to look at? Because one of the major sets is Plague Doctors. We all know this. So we'll grab a set of Plague Doctors for our base standard. Let's go into trials. Wow. I don't like some of the trial sets. I feel like they need to redo them for tanks. It's terrible. It's actually god-awful terrible. Green Pack. Green Pack's good. Let's go over this. You get max health, health recovery, and then while you have a food buff active, your max health is increased, and then you have health recovery. Green Pack's a great set. Beekeeper. It's a full recovery set. If you're needing it and you want to go low end, you can do that. Once again, I always prefer Plague Doctor for a lot of builds. I can build around it. Leech and Arc Dragon. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. We can take a look at that. So let's go into dungeon sets. Up. So let's go down to leeching. Okay, and we're going to go over to Heavy Overland. We're going to go with Akavari Dragon. All right. Now, there's going to be a couple different ways to set this up. Now, mind you, I don't have access to light and medium. And jewelry. And we'll grab a couple weapons for whatever. And I want that ice staff, obviously. Now, if I'm running, let's say I'm running. Oh, let me grab the frost staff. Right. Just in case I want to switch it around. Let's go with monster. Now, monster set, yes or no? I hear Warrior Poet set isn't good on Warden tank. Is it true? I like Magicka. So that's a lot of thing I push for because I'm not using as much. If I go with that ice staff, I don't use as much stamina. And I don't like Warrior Poet on a Warden tank. I think DK works out good. Also Templar. Newer Iron Blood set. You wanted me to check that out too? Okay. Well, I can check that out. Okay, now Mustang. Do you want a monster set or just one piece? Up to you. You wouldn't go with any at this point. You wouldn't go with anything like the Ice Heart set because you're not going to have enough crit. You could go with Infernal Guardian. That would be a nice set with this setup, just because you're running shields, and you can get that. But to me, that's not a really. You can do that with more of a hybrid. Once again, some of the major tank sets. Let's go over it. Yeah, you always could, and you could run a heavy Juliana's hybrid and run with that, and that's an option too for sure. And it works out great actually. It actually is. That's a pretty sick setup. Like if you're going to go with one piece, you can go with one piece Valken for heavy head. So I'll put that in. Engine Guardian. I love Engine Guardian on tanks. Love that set on tanks, especially whatever. Lord Warden. A lot of people don't use Lord. Ice Hearts is nice. I love Ice Hearts, especially running it on Warden tanks. If I'm going to be running a crit hybrid type build, love it. If you're looking at any game, it's not quite as viable, but it's good. Lord Warden, a lot of people don't like it because of the resistance value. I like it in certain scenarios if I'm helping mitigate, but for the Warden tank, it's kind of overkill because remember, I'm using Frost Cloak a lot of times, so a lot of times I won't use Lord Warden on a Warden, pun intended, tank, but it's great. Malabeth is still really a great set, and of course the Mighty Chudan is really nice too. If you're going to be not running, like say if you're in PvP, I don't use this PvE. PvP, if I'm going to be using more attack abilities or more CCs and I'm losing out some of that resistance, where this sort of Chudan comes in available for me. But in PvE on it's mostly overkill. So also you could run Troll King because remember you have a heal. But in 12 mans it's not really viable. So in PvP I use Thermoscales, but I don't use it in PvE dungeons. Would Ice Furnace be good as well? No, I'm trying to interact with you, Mustang. I'm trying to build to your guys' kind of specifications. Plague Doctor and Hisbark. I don't have access to the crafting. They reset our stuff. So at this point, my crafting's gone. That's why we're going over certain things. Hisbark is good. I like Hisbark. I don't use a lot of Hisbark because if I'm going to use a set like Hisbark, I prefer Armor Master over Hisbark. That's my personal preference if I'm going to use a crafted tank set. Unless I'm going for like hybrid, I'll go like Rock was saying, like heavy Julie, or I'll switch it up and I'll go with like a recovery set or something like that. There's a lot of options for crafted sets depending on what I'm trying to do. But if I'm going for mitigation and I want to deslot some of that mitigating effect and I want more CCs, I'll probably usually go with Armor Master. Ice Furnace would be good if you're running crit. Remember, you have Ice Furnace is good. I use Ice Furnace a lot. The proc is a little, the uptime's not as dominant. So let's just say hypothetically I'm going to go with one Falcon headpiece, right? And I'm going to go with a medium. Plague Doctor in green pack. Yeah, no, that's solid. That's solid. We'll go over that next. So I'm going to use one Valken Scorian head, right? I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go down, I'm going to put on, this will allow me to double stack up the entire set. So let's say I go with the Leeching set, right? I can do it like set up like this. Now I can put a waist of the dragon, and I can put like shoulders of the dragon, right? And then I can go with my leeching set like so. So now I have 5 of the leeching and I have 5 of the dragon, right? Now what I'm able to do if I'm doing this, I could take the main hand and notice that I have availability. Right, I can use a crafted set or whatever, but what I also can do, and this is kind of interesting too, I got to go under supplies. I can run something like the Maelstrom Destruction Staff or the Master. The only reason I'm going to say the Maelstrom one is simple. So we're going to go with the Infused. Is this reason? Because I'm going to be using the wall, right? So my light and heavy attacks deal an additional. So, you know, I can go ahead and do that. So when I use the Crushing Wall, which is weird, to your enemies in your Wall of Elements. And I can do that with the Warden tank for a CC. Now what I also can do is run Maelstrom Mace, Master Shield. Why isn't... Is that the one? No, that's the Puncture. So I got to go in there and try to find that one-handed Master weapon. Why didn't that work? Did I get the right set? Puncture Remedy. Puncture Remedy. That's a bug. Anyways, we'll put it on. Permafrost. I use Permafrost in PvP, Todd. PvE, I'd rather take Max Magicka because of the way things scale. Also, if you go over doing a 5-5 setup versus a 5-3-2, etc. Exactly. Yes, Matt. You're great. That's exactly right. Would you pair a tank set like Akavary Dragon in either Yoggs or Winterborn? Yeah, you could do that. That's actually great. You know, you could do that. That's like a hybrid build type setup. This is more kind of like a traditional tank for Warden that I can go with this setup right here. So now when we got this bar, you'll notice I have my Frost Staff, right? So now I'm able to go ahead and use the Elemental Blockade. That gives me a CC effect. Also, keep in mind, my heavy attacks do taunts because of the passive in Destruction. So I don't need my taunt on this. Also, let me do the Undaunted. I forgot to hit that Undaunted passive. Alright. And I won't have food buffs up yet, but we will get there. So now I'm able, unlike my healers, I can use the Elemental Drain. I have a heavy attack on my Weave. I have a CC effect, right? Now I can go back into my Winterborn, and now I can apply other effects like my Ice Fortress, right? I can also go ahead with my Polar Winds, which will scale max health. That's there. And then I can also use my Shimmering Shield over here, like so. And then I can keep Northern Storm or slot whatever on that bar as necessary. Alright. Now when I go to the back bar, now I'm able to go into my Puncture, which I would need, which is bugged. Why the set isn't whatever. So now I can hit this. I can put the Absorb Magic here, right? Now here's the deal. I have to. I can't put it on the back bar. Because why? Because I'm running a Frost Staff. So it has to be here. But this is going to give me another reduction. But it's only 8%. So it's kind of like, okay, sure, why not? If I want the Deep Slash, I can add it. Most of the time in a build like this, I probably wouldn't. So I'm probably going to go back in. Now I can go into some of these passives. And now I can use something like Falcon Swiftest for the Major Expedition. That's fine. Most of the time, I'll take the Betty Niche, and I'll go with the Blue Betty most of the time in this scenario here. So I'd like something like the Blue Betty here. Go back to Shield. I don't like that there. We'll put that over here. We'll put my Blue Betty over here. And now when I go down to the green balance, there's only one. I mean, you can go with a Warden / healer type effect, and you'd be fine with that. Right? So let's say I wanted to go ahead. I want Lotus Flower. That's the one I'm always going to take. I don't take the green You can go either way on this. But usually I take the Lotus, the blue one. And you can kind of go with the back bar if you want. So if I wanted to, I could slot this to the back bar. I could even put my Animal Companion over here. Since I'm going to get a boost of damage for the passive, and I'm going to be using a damaging effect, right? And since I'm also going to be using another damaging effect, we're pretty good. I can use the gripping shards here. So I can run this setup on the back bar. Why? Because I'm going to get that passive in the Animal Companions that increases my damage. Now also keep in mind, activating the Animal Companion ability grants me 4 ultimate. So every time I activate this, I'm going to get that. Plus then I'm going to go ahead and increase the damage effect. So I want to keep this all in the same bar, typically. Now when I go to the back bar and I have that Blue Betty over here, now I can go back into my Winter's Embrace, go with more of a tank scenario. So now I can go ahead, put this here. I got that. Put my main, actually I want to do that like this. Put the Ice Fortress here. And then my Shimmering, and then my block reduction. Then I can go into my Assault and put my Warhorn. Alright, why not Leeching Vines instead of Lotus? You can go with Leeching Vines. The only reason I like the Lotus, let's go over this real quick. Okay. Anytime I use the Lotus, light attacks restore health, right? So 1,346 health, and fully charged heavy attacks restore 4,039 health to you or a nearby enemy. So it will actually, as I'm weaving, it will continuously heal. When I go to an effect like the Vines, right, it's going to actually put it on a target. So it's specific. You see what I'm saying? So if I go to Leeching, it applies Minor Lifesteal, right? And you can go that way, but most of the time I'm weaving for heavy attacks constantly throughout my rotation. I like the Lotus a lot better in that scenario, personally. That's my personal opinion. But if you wanted to go with Leeching, you can. That's doable, and it's giving you another heal. Also, what's interesting, if you needed to, you could go with Nature's Grasp, but you'd be kiting everything to your target. So that's kind of like, Or you can offer another synergy. So I could go with even Healing Seeds if I want to, right? I mean, I'm not committed to anything specifically, but Fungal Growth is really nice too. So if I take like something like Fungal Growth, I can actually go with Enchanted Growth and get another effect to apply the Minor Intellect and Minor Endurance. So if I wanted to, and say there's not a Warden healer, and I had this unlocked, and say people need the Minor Intellect buff throughout the fight, I can slot it there. And now I'm good. Problem of it is the cost. That's another thing here for me, is cost. So Leeching Vines, 2,700, justifiable, right? But the lifesteal is going to apply to the enemy that targets damages the target for 10 seconds. PvP, it makes more sense for the tank to have this. PvE, if it gets hit, if it gets targeted on another person and they're not getting hit, then that Minor Lifesteal is not applied, right? Minor Lifesteal is usually applied by other means, because keep in mind, in this situation, I'm going to be using the Elemental Drain. So I already have the Magic Steel, so I can get the Lifesteal. But if they're getting hit, they're not getting hit. It's not going to apply that. So I like the Lotus. I mean, you can go either way. You can do that. And if you want to go with Leeching Vines, it'd be great. For PvP, it'd actually be better. Especially with Leeching Plate. You get Leeching Vines, Leeching Plate for PvP. Oh my god. Yeah. That would be badass. That's a badass combo. So I like this kind of setup. And let's go ahead. I'll get some food here. And we'll take a look at our stats. So we'll go to supplies. We'll go to consumables. I'm going to get just the cheap tri-statted food that's available. Okay. Now, currently with this situation, without champion points, now this is without CP allocated. We're looking at base of 28, 15, 14. I actually like this setup. In Magical Warden, I don't want my Magicka, if I'm going to use a Frost App, I want my Magicka higher, right? Because I use more Magicka. And when I get a shard or an orb, if I'm going to hit it, I want to recoup on that. That's important for me. So I want it to be higher than my stamina. Blood Altar over Leeching. Lasts longer in a good oh shit synergy. Actually, that's a great idea. Even on a tank, you could do that. Yeah, that'd be great. Also, you can go with like, you know, your ground effects. You can use Circle Protection, and also you can use Spike Bone Shield too for mitigation too. Because Spike Bone Shield will scale. No, so let's go into the champion points, and we'll allocate some champion points here. Now for tanks, there's not a lot in here. So one of the major things I always push for is usually Last Stand, unless I'm running a hybrid Warden with Julianus, like Brock was saying. If I go with Julianus heavy, then I usually focus in on the Apprentice because I want that spell precision. So this kind of goes over. And if you're going with more Stam, you can go with the more of the Butcher. But one of the major things I always am going to need to do, I'm running dot effects with ice. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to pump this up to about 12%. And also keep in mind I need penetrating value with anything that I'm going to be doing, because as a tank that's one thing I'm going to be lacking, but I'm not going to be fixated on damage. I'll usually get this up to about 4. Another one I want to do, focus in on, is healing, because I'm going to be healing myself in helping that mitigation. Get this up to about 9. Right? So that looks good. That looks good. I'm going to be doing a lot of elemental damage. We'll get this up to about 6. Okay. Now I'm coming over here, and I'm going against, again, I'm going to be using Sword and Board, so I need some more penetration. Don't need that in there. I need physical pen. It's going to go up to about 4. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and I want to put in Physical Weapon Expert. So I usually put it around 12, somewhere. I can also go into Shattering Blows if I want, but another one I usually put into is Master of Arms. That scales all my base ones as well. I have I have 1 point left over, and then we got that set up. All right, going over here once again. I usually put this up to about 12. Let's split the difference between these two. Around about 9. Come on. Now this can be standard no matter where you're going. Thick skin. Not a lot of dot damage in PvE, but I'll still put points into it. Big one for me, these two. I have shields sometimes, especially if I'm going to use Spike Bone Shield and rotate it in and out. So I usually go about 12. And then usually a bulk of it is going to go in my healing received as a tank. I usually go up to about 14. Got about 5 points left over. And I can go reduce your damage taken from light and heavy attacks. PvP, it's kind of whatever. I could put 5 points into physical, more physical resistance. That's fine. Break free, very important for tank. I usually go about between 9 and 12. Tenacity. I always put points in tenacity. Between 13 and 14, depending on the build. We'll go 13 on this. Actually, I can bring that down to about 1208. Now, here's the difference between tanks. I split the difference usually, but I'll usually put in a little bit higher value in my primary. So usually, let's say 11 there. Say about 9 here. Health recovery. Once again, tanking. I only put about 5 though. And then I want that block cost reduced even further. I usually stay about 14. So probably get a couple more points in here. Gonna have 3 points left. It's one of those little... Nope, not gonna give me enough value. Not enough value. I hate when it's like this. Not enough value. Oh my. I hate these things like this. Oh, perfect. Bingo. Block. I mean, break free. Alright, so that's pretty much how I kind of go over the champion points. It's kind of almost a standard setup. Almost. I'll fluctuate it slightly. Now when I go back in here, now I'm sitting at 33,000. Now I can fluctuate this, but look at my health recovery with this build. 1,014. That's insane. That's nuts. That's actually damn good. That is damn good. Now when I look at inventory and I take a look, like for example, that's max stamina. I can afford to bring that down. Because my max stamina is 16. I could bring that down to 14. I'd be fine. So let's go with inventory, supplies, useless. Yeah, but that was in reference to a healer using with Twilights. Right. And it was, but I feel like they could work on that a little bit more. It's like, but it's not like pressing. Consumables. Okay. I forgot to grab these, but armor, enchants, the enchantment boxes. Let's go over this. Okay, so I want some health. And I want prismatic defense is fine, but jewelry, enchantment boxes, recovery is good. But I usually don't want a lot of health recovery, and that's the problem. I want a little bit more stamina recovery. If I was Argonian, I would go with the reduction. I need the weapon. Alright. Wow. Is it even in here? Am I missing it? No crusher. I have no crusher in my enchantment box, Zoss. What's up with that? Really? Wow. Usually goes crusher. Hopefully you have time for testing. Well, yeah, I'm on the PTS. Basically, we're just kind of going over an overview, see what you guys think about certain things. Okay. So when we take a look, we got a lot of health recovery. To me, that's sometimes an overkill. So I'll focus in now on enchanting recovery. That's a little bit more important for me. Okay. Want to bring that down just a tidbit. Stamina recovery looks good. Now look, this is another thing I want you guys to see. If I'm going more Magicka, I want my stamina recovery to be slightly higher. Right? Bringing down that health. Everybody's like, why? Well, because I'm healing. I'm using effects. So I can afford to bring that health between about 400 to 600, and I'm usually good. I'm usually good with that type of setup. Okay, now Also, we want to take a look at that head. We'll enchant that with a health. That's health. That's health. That's health. It's all health. And it looks pretty good. So now we're about 35k. I'm pretty happy with this. For a standard, I'll usually go between, you know, I'll try to push up to about 40, but keep in mind we're using leeching and we're getting a lot of healing received, and I'm fine with that. When we go in, I'll try to go target some mobs real quick, and I want to move this up here. Let me go to collections and mounts. Yeah, they took away all of our little toys. The struggle was real. Yeah. A lot of people don't run dungeons in PTS. I don't know why. I mean, if it's the new ones, they will, but... Okay. Now, if I do a light attack, it does nothing. But watch a heavy attack. Okay. Up. There it is. The taunt's up. See the taunt? Light attack isn't going to do anything, but the heavy attack's always going to throw down a taunt. Now, as you guys can see, I'm getting that minor toughness. It's a weird glitch. Also, I'm getting another shielding effect as I'm doing a heavy attack. Al trying to twist your words. Now, remember, that's another reason I like the Blue Betty. So, usually I'll throw in, I'll CC. Now, see, this is going to cost me stamina blocking like this. Now, if I switch here, it's going to cost me magicka instead. Gonna get that nice shield. Nice thing about Warden tank. So if I'm ever low on one side of the spectrum, I can switch out and block with the other side of the spectrum. The Warden tanks is about CCing and mitigation of the party and what it offers the group function. You know, when I put my frost on, I'm at 26. Right? That's pretty damn good. Now also I can switch out any ability as one. Now, so we'll say if I didn't want the Shimmering Shield, I can go to the Undaunted, and I can go with the Bone Shield all the way. And the Bone Shield is nice because it's going to absorb 33% of my max health. That's the nice aspect to that. With the setup that you have going on, Mustang, here is going to be high regen. All right? You're going to have a high-end regen. Usually I'll go with the Bone Surge. Typing Yazgrimar with one thumb and autocorrect was fun. So if I wanted to, since I'm going to be using a dragon, I want to use the Shimmering Shield. Why? Because I'm getting major heroism, right? I'm getting it. That's one of the things that I want to go ahead and use. Also, I can probably go ahead and put on, you know, another effect and keep everything going on. But the Blue Betty with the major is going to be awesome for me. Because this shielding system with this setup, you're going to get a lot of cost reduction. Because when I take a look at the Warhorn cost on here, we're looking at what the hell? Wait a minute. Is that right? Oh, wait a minute. I didn't have all the Akaveri on. I put on the wrong set. One piece is missing. Yep. I was wondering what was... That's my fault. Okay, let me go back in here. And let's go into skills. 213. Down from 250. So you want to keep up your major and minor and you can do that, and it would actually be really great on this type of build. You wouldn't use it in vet trials much, but as far as survivability goes, there's the leeching effect underneath of it. The green cloud of smoke. It's going to keep health up considerably. I love leeching, especially in 4-mans, PvP, very flexible set. And if I wanted to, with this build, I would definitely want to keep the major and minor up at all times because of the dragon. What is reflecting damage? It's this. This reflects damage. My shimmering shield, which are the little 3 ice shields, will reflect damage. I use that in PvP a lot. People hate me for it. See the reflection? That's... tanking wise, this is a solid build. It's a solid setup. Yeah, it is. Todd makes a good point. The ice staff range taunt is better than inner fire, and I don't have to slot it. Well, and that's the nice thing. I don't, as a Warden tank, I can free up healers requirement for elemental drain. I can run the blockade. I can get, you know, the minor maim applied. I can run all these effects that is, you know, helping the party tremendously. No, you know, Blood Altar is really good. I don't like the cast time. I mean, it's great, but if I want to go ahead and I'm going to use a skill, I usually go with Circle of Protection in the Fighters Guild, is what I do. So if I'm going to use an effect like that, I'll usually go with the Circle of Protection, because then I get the minor protection and I get the minor endurance. I already have minor protection. I don't need the minor protection, but I get the minor endurance, reducing the damage by 8%, which is from the minor. But I get the stamina recovery, and it applies to me and my allies. So the major is here, and if I wanted to, I can apply minor. So it's great, especially on stack. Ice staff, regen, and taunts instead of costing resources. Right. And that's exactly what it is. That's what I'm exactly doing. A lot of people don't want to like think about how functional the Warden tank is, but the Warden tank has a lot more CCs and benefits to offset what the party needs. Like I said, if I'm not running if I have a healer and I'm using a Frost Staff as a Warden tank because it benefits me because those cold passives, why wouldn't I want to use the Ellie Drain? Free that up on my healer, allow them to use another utility or ability that is going to be more beneficial for resource management or group control play. Also, somebody made a suggestion saying you should run walls on healers. That is the worst idea ever. And I understand you want to concuss, but the problem of it is when you run keep applying other non-essential effects on healers, it's taking away from their healing rotation, essentially making them lose a utility, lose another healing effect, and you're putting more of a burden. That's like when tanks wear non-mitigating sets and they put on DPS sets like, I don't know, Alkosh, it's more costly for healers because of resource management, because the tanks take a brutal amount of damage. And most of your resistance here scales from max health. So I always tell people, like, my heal here is acting as a mitigating effect. So it's going to scale max health, 10% of my max health. That's a mitigation type of effect. So also, if I go ahead and say I put in Bone Shield, so let's say I'm not going to use the shards. Say that I don't need this CC, and I might not. I can actually go with my Bone Shield. So I can go into the Undaunted, and I can put the Bone Shield right here. right? So there's my mitigating effect applied. And that's the biggest thing here. So, and I always tell people, if I'm going to go ahead and work on more mitigation, that's the one thing I need. But what all is going to be mitigating effect? Leeching Plate is a mitigating effect to heal. Okay. Now, also, you can get the opposite effect with the Polar Wind, and it will actually deal damage based off health. It will scale off health. So you can get a damaging tank effect. I just like the Polar Wind because it offers another heal for me and my party. It's a mitigation form for PvE. PvP, you can take the other one, and now you have a damaging version of it without the heal. So, crazy. I don't even know why I'm taking that. Just have it. Orbs on tanks is helpful. Yeah, actually, no, it's great. Orbs, you can offer. I don't like it for necessarily for trying for heals, but what I like it for is for two reasons. You get like the utility. So a lot of times when you can get orbs passing back and forth, and you can get a cohesive type fluctuation going on, you restore one. Resource. All of a sudden, you're passing a resource back to the healer, right? Or passing it back. So it's like a pinball effect. And so you can run an orb bounce, like you know, boom, boom, and keep throwing orbs. You see one orb launch, you launch an orb as a tank. All of a sudden, now you're throwing a utility. That's another thing I like about Templar tanks, because Templar tanks can use shards as well. And guess what? Offering another utility to their party members. So it's really great. So let's. Somebody wanted to see. I think Useless. You wanted to see Dragon. Oh, not Dragon. Plague Doctors and was it Beekeepers? Let's take a look at that. So we'll go with. Oh. My bag space full. I gotta use these little things here. Just so I can get more bag space. Iron Blood. Okay. That's the Iron Blood and Plague Doctors. Was that the one you wanted? And then I got to take out what's his name's email too. I want to check that out too. So let me see if that's in there. We'll do this one, and then we'll check out the other one. It's not in my inbox. Let's see if it's in my spam. Sometimes it goes in my spam. Excuse me. Okay. All right. I didn't get the email. If you can mail that to me again or try to. For some reason I didn't get it. Or try to get that link up. Or describe at least the build. Plague and Green Pack. We can do that. Iron Blood and whatever. So let's try Iron Blood and... so dungeon sets. Should be in here. Oh my god. There it is. Okay, so we got the health, we got physical and spell resistance, which is good. Always good. When you take damage, you have an 8% chance to turn your blood into pure iron and gain major protection for 10 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 30%, but your movement speed is reduced. Okay, now this is the one thing I want to go over with this really quick. If you're going to use the set, if you were going to use the set, not say you can't, but if you're going to use it, What do you want to give up? You want to go ahead and probably drop your Frost Cloak. Why? Because you already have protection. You're going to be overstacked on your protecting values, and once you cap over, it's not going to be worth it. Plus, I mean, I do it that way, and then I'd run up another ability, like your other one. But let me see. We'll get into it. And I'll show you how I would kind of set this up to offset it. All right. Now keep in mind, I'm out of glyphs. So we're going to replace the dragon. Right? Okay. Gonna need that plague doctor. Okay, it should give us 5 of that. No, we're short 1. We got 5 of the iron blood. We do. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll actually have to put on the head. Looks like it. Yep. It's fine. All right. No, wrong head. All right. So we got 5, 1, 2, and then 2 of those, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And once again, I got this. No monster set. I mean, you can, whatever. I don't even know why I'm checking that. Not important. Let's take a look at the character sheet. 42K. Plague and Green Pack. Pirate Skeleton Helm. I can't, for some reason, I don't know why, but I'm trying to do the count. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I got 1, 2, and then 3. So that's 5. So I can't use the pirates unless I want to get rid of that. So let's say I do that. Okay, so let's go with this way. Let's go into supplies. We'll go to monster sets. Okay. So pirate skeleton, and I probably would want to go with a medium, just for the simple purpose of having that a little bit of that undaunted. But now I'm going to have to use the weapons of one of the weapons of the Plague Doctor, because I'm dropping it. Now I'll have 1 offset piece, which is going to be crazy. Or I can run dual Destro. But let's say I go with Ice Staff, right? Always Ice Staff. So Plague Doctors, Ice Staff, Plague Doctors, Mace. That's the only thing I need is 1 piece, but I'm going to have an offset piece. Just the way it is with the setup. And Plague Doctor. I'm sorry, that's my granddaughter. Okay, so let's go into the character sheet. Okay, with this setup currently configured this way, you're looking at a base of 26 and 27. That's pretty damn good on resistance, right? We're looking at a 40k max health. That's really going to be prime. Our stamina is a little high. We could readjust those values. Once again, put the regen, kind of recover. If you want a high health recovery, or if you want to go, I usually go with magic and stamina. And that setup actually looks pretty beastly. Let's go ahead and throw on... now, here's the difference for me. Now, we were talking about this. When I throw on this, I'm well over the 31. So this is the biggest one for me. This is too much. Remember, I told you if I was running this setup, I would take out the frost cloak. Why? Because your pen's too much. Your penetration value is now exceeding past this. But now check this out. When I take damage, it's going to activate the Iron Blood set, and that can happen every 15 seconds. But my movement speed is going to be reduced by 50. So let's go ahead and take some damage here, and then I'll show you how I kind of offset this. Did it kick in? I think actually I have to take the damage for it to kick. Yep, there it is. Okay, so as you guys can see, I'm kind of rooted here. So there it is. There's the iron. Okay, so my resistance is up, right? Now you're going to be dealing a lot less damage, but once again, man, as far as like everything going together, it's a nice setup. Now let me show you how to offset this. So, we know we're going to get a reduction with the set, right? And I can use the mitigating effects, but guess what I can do here? Show you what I'll do. I can go with Falcon Swiftness because I'm getting Major Expedition. That's going to take off 30% off that 50. Increase the duration and adds dodge chance. Now that, to me, is worth it. So now I can go ahead, replace this, because keep in mind, my value is still above that cap when it kicks in. So that's the biggest difference here. So we're going to go ahead and draw it and see if we can offset it. Okay, I want to get that Iron Blood up. To proc. Beat me! Ugh, hit me. Oh, hit me more. We need more to hit me. Let me see if I can provoke this thing. Oh, come here. Okay, I see. But I need the Iron Blood to kick in. Okay, there's the Iron Blood. Now see how slow I'm going? Now see if we can offset a little bit of that difference. And then we're still looking at, well, it dropped off. And now I got a dodge chance. So if I was going to run this setup useless, I would replace the Frost Cloak, offset that difference with the Major Expedition, and get the dodge. Oh yeah, baby. Now I see you're not moving so slow. I'm sick. They shouldn't let me do this type of shit. Giving me ideas for PvP shit. Alright. So now when you use that, if you were going to use that type of setup, I would get rid of the Frost Cloak. And you can do that. Okay, so that's a good setup. What was the other setup? Plague Doctors and Green Pack. Or Plague, yeah. That's a pretty standard setup, actually. That is a pretty standard setup. And it's solid. It's actually really solid. It's a solid setup. I think I got 5 of that on now. Right. No monster set. We'll go back with Sword and Board. Whether or not you want to use monster sets or not. If you're going to use proc, that's you can do that. It has a lot of option. Lewis, I want to check that email again. Let me know if you were able to send it. If you got a verification sent, I really want to check out that build for you. Let's see. I don't know why the puncturing set isn't. There it goes. Thank you. Finally. Thank you, Zoss. I know you're watching. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Much appreciated. Okay, green pack. It's overland set. It's a great set. This is a great setup. I love the green pack because what it does. It gives all that nice health, that nice recovery bonus. Once again, I'm going to stick with all of this. I want to go ahead, put on that green pack. It's a sick setup. This is a dire ass setup here for tanking. A lot of PvEers or end game trial runners will run this shit. Because remember, when you have the food, it's increased. And I do have the food. And let's take a look at this bitch. Oh my god! Look at it! It's gross! It's so gross! 47k without adjustments, man. And 1500 health recovery. I mean, I would totally get that health to about maybe 12 or maybe even 1,000, and you could put in more recovery for your stamina and magicka. But that's gross, guys. That is sick. I have to go to a meeting, but love this type of video today. We'll catch the rest when I get home tonight. Well, thank you, Mustang. I'm just glad I got this in before you had to go to work for you. I guess YouTube doesn't allow me to put web addresses in the chat. I'll resend the email. I'm hoping it does. Make sure if it gets a verification. Rock, this is standard. And I'll tell you what, I would run Bone Shield on this. The one thing we're losing is the resistance. So we would want the Frost Cloak back in there. So we would go back into the Winter's Embrace. We would add that ability and get that up there. Right? So we got back up to 26 and 27. That's kind of ideal. I like to stay between 25 to 31. That's perfect. We're going to be running Bone Shield on this type thing. Why? Because it's simple. Mitigation, man. We're going to be mitigating a lot. But take a look what this set's going to do for Polar Wind. Polar Wind is 10% of the health. 10% of 47. I mean, if it's 50, that's 5k. That's 5,000 heal every time you hit it. It's like, oh, hello, you know. I mean, come on, man. That's the shit. I could see you making an easy mode VMA build with Berserking Warrior and Winterborn. Kill things slower, but withstand. Oh no, you know what? That's a great idea, Met Spider. You know, because you could go with a high health and you can take the opposite effect of Polar Wind. Damage off high health. CC, it would be slower. You wouldn't be getting any. But you know what? The ice board in VMA would be your issue, though. Because remember, you have a timer to get her down when that hits. That would be your problem. Would you be able to deal enough damage to the bitch before she destroys the friggin' ice caps? That's the problem on that one. I don't know. $33% of my health, man. Add this with the heal effect. Now I'm healing everything instead of taking it. I took health from the damage! Did you guys see it? Oh god! It's so fucking badass! Play Green Pack Troll King. Oh yeah, definitely, man. I would probably take out the Lotus Blossom, though, for what somebody else was saying. I think Mustang with the leeching. Because a lot of times you ain't going to get that. Leeching does come in good in PvP. Yeah. And keep in mind I'm getting that minor toughness for activating and healing. So Warden tanks will get that buff too. So when I hit that and I get that, that throws up a lot more on my polar winds, and that's what PvP tanks do. Zoss is going to nerf me after this. Zoss does nerf me. Ask my viewers about my proc dot and drop build, what they did to me. Couple fucking nerfs I got from that build. I used to be able to proc Vipers on ranged. That build comes out no more. Used to proc Vipers off my enchants because of that build. No more. Used to be able to proc my Swamp Raiders off of enchantments. I think they fixed that too. They decapitated my proc dot and drop build. They decapitated that fucker. That was my pride and joy. I didn't even have to be skilled to run that. I could be a shit-ass player and still effectively kill players. Decapitated. Bastards. Damn it. I can't blame them, though. They're doing their jobs. They're doing their jobs. Now, essentially, though, another thing you could do, if you didn't want to run Troll, you could run Green... not Green Pack, but friggin' Beekeepers. Rock. So you could run Beekeepers in replace of this. And then take a set like... shit. Like, you could go with Skeleton. So there's an idea too. Because Beekeepers would be badass for the regen. For recovery. You can run the back end recovery on the back bar. Just go standard sword and board. And you wouldn't need frost. If you didn't want to CC. That's another option, guys, too. So on Warden tanks, you don't have to go frost staff. Remember, Warden tanks has flexibility in its build. More than most tanks would ever. So if I didn't want to go with this, and let's say I go with pirates. We'll go back to the pirate set. Bone pirates. And let's say I pick up a light shoulder, right? Let's say I go with something like Beekeepers. Overland up. So I'm going to keep Plague Doctor. Right. Let's say I wanted to go with Bone Pirates. Right? Because I'm getting extra physical and spell resistance. This is something for more like PvP. And let's say I replace the green pack with Beekeepers. Right? I need another Plague Doctor's weapon. I don't care what it is. So let's say if I go Beekeepers. Oh, nope. I actually would have to put the Beekeepers shield here. Right. Plague Doctors. Beekeepers. Axe. We're good there. And then Plague Doctor shield. Okay. Pirate, Beekeepers. Then 3 Beekeepers, jewelry. Actually, you know what I'm thinking? That looks good. Then what I can do is, once again, I think my values are going to be way over. No, not really. There you go, man. Okay, 1 second. I'll be back. I'm getting a quick phone call. Okay, so we could run something like this. Get that resistance up there. 27, 27, 1700 health recovery, over 40k health. We can glyph that up. Looks really good on. I mean, seriously, and I'm not limited to what type of food I'm running. You know, I don't have to run. I can run more recovery food if I want for stamina or magicka. I could switch out the skills because I wouldn't need these skills, and then you could go dual wield, you could go whatever, you could go sorted board, you could use more of your animal companion abilities. I could throw in abilities kind of like, you know, my cutting dive. I can use my scorchers for a CC effect. I can get that, all of that effects to go up considerably. Because I'm using, you know, the Blue Betty on here, and I'm pumping up the Northern Storm. Actually, I should have went Magicka on that. So I could go with Magicka, and I would have gotten the boost because of Northern Storm. But ideally, you can go with something like that. And then on a back bar setup. So let me go in here. Let's see. I think we get... oh, that's right. Can go to Crown Stores. And then I can just go respec. Utility. Okay. Go down here. Get that respec. Go over here. Oh man, I respect everything, didn't it? I was just wanting the skills, not all the passives, too. Holy shit. Okay. You get this build in Cyrodiil. Players are going to hate you. They just either bang on you in frustration or run off and leave you alone. Right. Yeah. Ever played DCUO? Yes. I actually played DCUO for a long time. I have one PS4 player, and then I have like 8 on PC. PvE and PvE sets were separated, and there was a lot of changes to DCUO. I tried to go back on a couple days ago. I was like, wow, I was lost. Would that all MMOs were that way, right? I wish I could see this build in action, just PvP real quick. PTS is pretty dead. Yeah, it is. This is one of the few times I get to see the show in its entirety. Well, I'm glad that you are here. So I could go with Magicka, right? I could do this. I could go with like something like the Screaming Cliff Racer. I could go with the Deep Fisher. I can go with the Blue Betty. I can go also, it's kind of crazy. I can go Deceptive, but I actually would go with the Birds of Prey for like an offensive side to this. I would run the Frostgate for fucking sure. And I would run Frozen Retreat. I would be a dick with this. I would totally fucking set these motherfuckers up in so many ways this way. I would go with the Sleet Storm. I would go with increase the max Magicka. Frostcloak I could use, but this is the big one for me right here. Is where is it? I'm trying to find it. Oh, no. This is it. Right here. Gripping Shards. Damage done is based on your max health. Oh, God. Oh, it's so sick. I would totally set up like... Actually, I would put this over here. And I would put my Blue Betty here. Because I would just get a bump to this. And then I run all my utilities on the back. Oh, this would be bad. Then I'd run my utilities on the back end. And I would run, obviously, the Polar Wind. I would run the Frostgate for fucking sure. That would be my bread and butter, is the Frostgate. Right? Totally. I would run the living... the fucking, Leeching Vines. Fuck a heavy attack. Oh my god. I could run a burst heal. And actually, this is what's even more frustrating. Getting Secluded Grove. Actually, that would be badass. Generate ultimate if the initial heal is used to on a low health. Actually, I love that. I love the enchanted idea. I love taking the shield, get it the major heroism on this bar, and then all of a sudden I could stack up. And then I need one more ability. And oh yeah, minor. I could take the minor. Or debuff. Yeah. Let me put that there. Oh god. You're running a whole utility build on the back end to gain ultimate. Drop this on it because it's 90 and I'd be gaining an insane amount of ultimate to keep alive. And then just as a fuckhead that can't do shit with a shit that scales max health. Oh. Oh my god, I'm getting minor berserk and everything else. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, my god, my god. Somebody would have to fucking nerf the hell out of me. Okay. Undaunted. Yeah, I need that. You could run Bone Shield too. That's not a bad idea. I'd go Spiked if I was PvPing. You could switch out for Frostgate. Frostgate, I like the idea of it. So I love the idea of Frostgating and then trapping them. Setting them up for a trap. Okay. Not sure why email's not reaching you. So I'll try to describe the build. Here's Mystic. Here Mystic, but understand this is my first attempt in making a build. So yeah. This build is AoE Magical Warden that has crazy ultimate regeneration plus self-healing, high AoE damage. I put all 64 points in Magicka because I stack health in gear and food. Makes sense. You can do that. That's nice about this game. That's why I like it. Bar 1, Pierce, Heroic Slash, Absorb Magicka, Bull Niche, Ice Fortress, Warhorn. Bar 2, Elemental Blockade, Arctic Blast, Subterranean Assault, Shimmering Shield, Leeching Vines, Northern Storm. Actually, I love it. I love that. What's that, Lewis? Because that's a really nice, solid build. Because you're basically CCing everything on the front end and then causing, you know, like you're CCing everything on one end, mitigating off the next. I like it. I think you might have enough damage for the ice stage for VMA. You think meta? Met? I don't know, man. No need for the meta. You can use Healing Thicket instead of Warhorn. If healing is weaker or replace Heroic Slash for Budding Seeds. I actually like that. I like Subterranean Assault because I can apply Major Breach, right? Major Fracture, right? Pulling. And yeah, you get the initial hit. And then you can sweep them up. I felt it had enough mana regen in the build with Shimmering Shield, Weaving, plus I wanted to offset the difference. I like it. That's the thing. I can't make up my mind on sets. Definitely Plague Doctors as a main. Okay. So you're trying to look for a secondary set to push in. Are you looking at a monster set? Because the one thing with your build I think that's going to be suffering, you're going to have the health, and I like the abilities, the way you're doing it. Resistance is going to be your issue. So that's going to be the issue. And I think you mentioned maybe his spark or somebody did. And I kind of might agree with that. I think, but you wouldn't want to give up anything like for something like Armor Master, because then you'd be giving up a spot in your rotation. So that's not going to be very beneficial to you. Which I think the better setup, and I'll take a look at the different sets. Here is, now do you run trials, Lewis? That's another question. I'd run something like this in PvE. I would. Oh my god. As a tank. Let me get one of these things here. I forgot to put down the thing. Now watch this. Let me lure it over here. Yeah, you can just see this fucker hit. You can say he's coming, and then all of a sudden set up your subterranean assault. So all of a sudden, getting ready to run over the trap, hit subterranean assault. All of a sudden, they run over the trap and they're like, they hit it and then pale them at the same time. Oh my God. Okay, just normal dungeons. Okay, vets. What about vets? Down in the vet dungeons? Plague Doctors is good. I would say this, Lewis. Plague Doctors is a good set for you. You're going to want resistance. So, Pirate Skeleton can be good. But I'd actually would suggest Lord Wardens is probably going to be a better bet for you. For a monster set. For that build. You're going to be lacking some resistance. Because you're not using Ice Fortress. And you want to go sword and board on both. Are you using Ice Staff? That's another thing. I would go Lord Wardens. Because you're getting extra resistance. You don't need any resistance gear. You can go with Plague Doctors. And then you can run up a Magicka set. If you wanted to. For, you know, extra damage. And use the Lady Boon? Actually, yeah, it's not a bad idea. I don't think the Lady... I forget how much the Lady gives you. I have to take a look. 3,000, right? I want to say. Use Ice Fortress? Okay, actually you would be able to keep Ice Fortress. So actually I would say... just use Lord Warden. If you can get it. So, Ice Fortress and Plague Doctors would be a perfect setup. You already have a great build, Lewis. Your build is solid. Yeah, Ice Staff is definitely the way to go. And I would actually say take the Lord Wardens. And then you could offset with on the Ice Staff. And then take like Ice Fortress on the back. And then enchant. So keep Plague Doctor static. And then take Ice Fortress and your other effects on that back end with your shield side, and then run it up if you're running Ice Staff. If you're running Sword Board, double stack it, and you'd be great. Your build's solid. You have a solid build. You have a solid conception. I think the only thing you're needing is extra resistance. If that's the case, if it's the case and you're hitting under that 25 mark, you want to go, I would suggest the Lord Wardens for you. It would give you the resistance to cover the distance. I got to do a show with another content creator and discuss sets, skills, and builds. That'd be an awesome idea. I just don't know who. Actually, me and Sai could. Me and Sai, or Wolf. Me, Wolf, and Sai, we're pretty good buds. All of us are really good buds. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Thank you. I have a lot of fun with the build. Great OEO. No, I love your concept, Lewis. I love it. It's a great concept. Your build's strong. You're hitting all the points. You got your taunts. You got everything laid out. You have CCs. I see exactly where you're going with it. Like you said, you got the fracture applied. You got everything going down. And you got your static solid. You know what your health. You know how you're going to mitigate. The only thing you're missing is a little resistance. That's all you need to do is offset the resistance just a tad bit. Lord Warden will give you that. That's it. I think you're good. I think you're insanely good. Even if you didn't want to use the full set, you could use one piece, just get the resistance. But given the fact that you have a 50% chance to proc it, it will proc quite often. You know what I mean? You have a 10-second cooldown, but it's a 10-second duration. So it's always up. Its uptime is great. So Lord Wardens would be a perfect match for your build. And I think it would just complement the way you got everything set up. And you got a great build, Lewis. Great. It was great. That's pretty much about it for... I think for me for today, as far as on PTS, I wanted to do the actual Warden Healer. Maybe we'll touch up on that next week on a show. I will be doing a couple of episodes with the event because, you know, I got to go ahead and level up some stuff. I'm looking forward to that. Keep in mind, guys, I believe, let me check the date here. I want to say it's Friday. So this Friday, the event kicks off. And we got 2 weeks of it, so I'm going to be enjoying this. So tomorrow, I'll look into getting into the Warden Healer, options, builds, gears, so on and so forth. The nice thing about Warden tanks, flexibility. They have alternative ways of taunting. They have alternative ways of applying set effects. They have alternative ways of group functionality applied. If, like you guys said, we can add the budding seeds. We can add a self-healing. We can add crowd control. We can take some of the burden off of our fellow team members, like running the Ellie Drain if we're running Frost Staff, running the walls, things like that. If I wanted to put on other effects and abilities, I can do this. Utility, you know, once again, Useless made a good point. We can even run orbs as a utility for another synergy effect and another form of resources between those global cooldowns. And that is a great point. That's what the Warden kind of gives us. So, and once again, people want to say, does it have mobility? It can. Do I need it? Depends on the content. Depends on what I'm doing and what sets I'm running. And that's what I think we're kind of covered today. PvP sets, Plague Doctor, Green Pack, Troll King, Never Say Die. Yeah, that probably would be never, because Wardens are healing. If you put on Lotus Blossom and you just do light attacks, you're healing. It'll proc Troll King. It will. Any chance you will be running dailies today? Actually, Mustang, I don't know. I have a lot of things I'm going to be doing. I'm actually setting up a European character. I'm trying to get him through the tutorial because Psy, if you guys know who Psy is, Xynode, Xynode, or Xynode, or however you want to pronounce it. He's one of my really good friends. He's a YouTube content creator. He's getting up there. I think he's almost at 8,500 subs. And he might be doing an event for the launch of, you know, a little, you know, community event. I don't know. I hope he does do it, and I want to be on the European server if he decides to do that event. And if he does it, I want to be there. You know, so I'm trying to make a European account. So if he does this, I'm present. I just want to be there for that. He's a really great, you know, we're really good friends as far as, like, he's in Europe, I'm over here. We jump on each other's channels a lot. We talk. We'll sometimes even message each other and stuff like that. He's, you know, I have nothing but respect for this guy. So I want to be there. So I'm going to try to get that done today. I want to try to get that character out of the little tutorial area just so I'm available for the event when it launches. So I want to drink from the cauldron, spend a little time. I'm hoping that we can run up a joint effort and give you guys some pose, play with you guys even. Yep. That's my dude. That is my dude. Maybe we can get together and we can collaborate. The problem of it is he's on EU and I'm on NA. But on PTS, we could both get on PTS, go over some things. That might be something we can do in the future. I'll have to talk to him about it. Maybe Wolf too. There's a lot of good content creators I'm out there I'm friends with. A couple of the other ones, yeah, it's hit and miss. You know, I kind of rattled a lot of cages coming in here. You know, I came into ESO YouTubing pretty loud, if you guys remember. So, but look, it's been effective. Has it not been effective? It's been pretty effective. You know, a lot of content creators are now knowing what we can do with this game, what the devs give us, the capability. Is it perfect? No. I mean, there are a lot of changes. There was one content creator was talking about a certain class. I won't get into it. And saying, what does it offer, you know, as far as this? It could. I always think you can always improve on things. I always feel the devs can always improve. But when we're taking a look at balance, there's always going to be issues. There are always going to be issues with this game and that. And the devs are always trying to address it and make it better. But once again, we can acquire things. They give us the capability. I love when somebody's like, you know, you homogenize it. Well, in this game, you have to give every character the capability of picking up said passives or skills somewhere between either the gear or the abilities so they can play those roles, right? That's what they do. The devs do that. Unfortunately, though, some are a little bit more already set in their kit. So you have to hunt it down. You have to be like, how do I get it? How do I do it? How do I do it? And that's how you have to. You saw it. It was garbage. So you know what I was talking about. Yeah. Well, at least I did say it specifically. And if anybody wants to know, it's about the Magic of DK. And Magic of DK. As long as you're even on a fuck up, if you're hitting over 35K, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. On a target dummy, most of the time you don't hit that. An actual, I mean, and I think Rock and all of you guys would say, parsing a target dummy, which isn't a parse, we don't consider that a parse, and doing actual content is completely two different things. It is. It just is. I can tell you that from years of experience on PC. It's never going to be accurate. Plus, especially for friggin' mechanics. But one of the things the DK offers, and I will stress this, the Magic of DK has one advantage over every other class. And that's continuous. Yeah, 12K DPS, 12K DPS. I love that, dude. Even though I hit 76K on a friggin' whatever, and my fluctuations are typical on whatever. But the one thing I really like for the DK, the one thing it offers that other classes don't, consistent damage. Consistent. During a mechanic, when we have to pull out of a mechanic, any other damage besides dot will, guess what? Fall off. But guess what damage never falls off? Dot damage. Who offers the most dot damage out of all the classes? Magic of DK. One of the oldest rule of thumbs was to always have a dot in old school MMOs. Why did we always want a dot in Trials in other MMOs? Mechanics, right? I think you would agree with that. When damage starts dropping, we need damage to be consistent during certain phases. That's why you always wanted, like, you know, dot builds. We didn't care about their overall top end DPS. We wanted their DPS to be consistent throughout the entire encounter. So when we had to pull out from a mechanic, dots were still ticking on that boss, even if we couldn't damage him during that time. That's what the Magic of DK brings. That is what it brings to your trial party. Every fucking day of the week. Out of every class, the Magic of DK will consistently keep applying the dot damage. And that's what you need. And as far as burst, I don't know what the fuck people are smoking. You can get up to 24 without any buffs on your standard. I can get a 24 whip lash out there. I can get a 24K lash without any applied effects. You give me applied effects, I can hit 30 to 31K, you know, without flinching on a burst. It doesn't have as much burst as some of the classes, but when that dot rolls out, you know, that duel between Cypher and Addison yesterday was epic, man. I saw you on friggin' Cypher's thing yesterday, Rock. I said, Rock, is that you? I was mystic sick. Yeah, I actually, I liked Cypher's shit yesterday. It was pretty badass. It was badass. So anyways, guys, once again, man, I'm not going to dog on anybody I'm not trying to. I do. He tried to say stamina DK does dots better. No. No, that's not the case. That is not the stamina DK deals has more burst between its dot effects, right? So it deals more damage. The pressure damage is a lot higher on Stam DK, right? But you're using heavy attack. It's a heavy attack build. Stam DK is promoting more these days because of the benefits it gets, right? Plus, then you can add a two-hander on it and you can run an execute. It's more efficient. And Stam DK benefits from that. But the problem of it is Stam DK actually lacks less dot damage than its counterpart. Right? The Magicka DK has the highest end dot and derated dot damage out of every class in this game. Go to Cypher Twitch. The duel is posted there. Oh, definitely, man. I'm definitely going to have to check it out. But, yeah, dude. I'm serious. Like, 33 seconds. We're looking at, like, durations, like, between 28 to 30-second durated effects for Magicka DK. And that's not relevant in phase fighting. If you were a raider in other MMOs, the first thing you always say is, I need a dot damage. And why? And everybody's like, why? They never deal the top end DPS. They're not fucking supposed to. I want damage consistent. I need a consistent DPS during phase encounters. That's what dot gives me. That's what dot players give me. Now it sucks for PvP, so that's why I don't think all of his shit was garbage, because he does make some valid points for PvP and how those dots are affected in the purge effects and the pressure. And I do agree with a lot of what he was saying, actually. Surprisingly. So I do agree. I do agree with a lot of things he was saying for PvP. PvE, I was like, burning status effect applied 100% of the time, uptime. Kind of important. Dot-based effects, important. Can cause unbalance. I can run a Destro, I can run Lightning Destro and get to concuss. I don't have to run Inferno because my skill-based abilities apply burning status effect. I don't need to run Inferno staff. I can, but I can run Lightning, run Wall, run Charge, because the Charge applies status effects. So now out of all the people, why would I want the healer running Wall for Concuss when I can use the DK to apply Concuss? Why? Because now I get burning status effect and Concuss from DK with 100% uptime on burning status effects. I don't know, man. Just my thought. Just my thought, man. Just my thought. I do agree with some of it for PvP, though. PvP needs help with dot damage. It's too much, man. It's just the cleanses will wipe DK pressure out the door. But a lot of fucking Stam Blades can't beat me. They avoid me in fucking Cyrodiil. If I'm on Mag DK is my main. It's my main. I beat the fuck out of people on Mag DK. The only class I have struggles with on Mag DK is Mag Sorks. That's it. Stam DKs will give me a run for my money. They will. A good Stam DK and me going head to head, it's a good fight. Sorks, I'll put up some resistance until they get the proc and it's over. It was insane, the server Saturday around watching Cypher duel in Cyrodiil, actually taking turns 1v1 for hours. I'd imagine. I'm glad he stopped in. Cypher's a legend. And he's not, even if people beat Cypher, Cypher's not one of those people who gets butthurt about it. I like Cypher because of that. I like Cypher because of what he does. And I actually like Gilliam's, a couple of the points that Gilliam made yesterday. I did, for PvP. PvP, he made a lot of damn good points. PvE, I felt like he missed points. He made validations. I'm not saying he didn't. I just feel like he missed points with what the DK offers, group. He's talking about what it takes away, but he missed one of the biggest aspects of what the Mag DK offers. That's dots. It's consistent damage throughout phases. And that's relevant. And if you're old school, or you should be paying attention, even if you're new school. All three alliances on a ceasefire and watching the. Oh my God! No, shut up! I wish I would have seen that. Ceasefire? Bullshit. I would have been fucking sieging keeps. Wow, that was going down. Cypher's fighting. Let's go take this shit right now. I would have been doing it. But, yeah, I actually emailed him some poisons yesterday. I was talking to him in a little bit, so I like Cypher. Cypher's a good dude. He's a good dude. All right, guys, so that's it for me today. If you have any questions, comments, post below. And I'm just glad I didn't crash. Thumbs up. But I will be doing a couple of things. Tomorrow we'll go over the mag Warden, healer, and a couple of the things, and we'll kind of brush up on it. But I'm glad we got to try out a lot of these sets, kind of, you know, go into it. I think Plague Doctors is a really beast set. I think Beekeepers looks good. I think a lot of these sets are really solid. It was like watching a boxing match in Vegas. I could imagine. They should have been selling tickets. And Zoss should have been there with, like, purchase your Cypher tickets now. It was sad because when he was on PS4, I mainly play on PS4, and when he was talking about trying to host community events, I can literally say I feel his pain, because when I stream PvP, I get stream stalkers, and PS4 is littered with them, because there's people who's whatever. And I'm friends with a couple of the guys. Actually, I'm friends with a lot of the top-end PvPers. So I don't hate them. I have no hate. I have respect for all my top-end fellow PS4 players. But I know what he means when you have, you know, stream stalkers and people who's not letting you at least try to be interactive with your community. And PS4 is pretty, yeah, notorious for that. And then you have people who's always trying to, when they do their stream, they're making my faction look like shit. And then I come in and it's like I get brutally pounced upon by like 5 or 6 of these guys. I'll try to even avoid them. But even if they get me on a good 1v1 situation, they're really good. But when I have 5 or 6, I usually can't even escape them, which I'm trying to do. But yeah, DK is my main in PvP. And I don't care. It does have some problems in PvP, but a lot of things with Mag DK. You get me a Mag DK. You get a Stam Nightblade. There's only 2 Stam Nightblades on my server that could take me out on my DK. Only 2. Only 2. The other ones die quicker than shit, because the other 2 know how to play against me. And they do. But other than that, usually Stamina Blades will fucking die to me. Big time. They have no purge, they have no cleanse, and they fucking will get slaughtered. I will beat them down. Against Templar, it can be a brutal fight because of those cleanses and things like that. Sorks, we need more nerf bats heading their way, but it's getting there slowly but surely. Alright guys, I'm out. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Once again, always, have a nice day.